Hey, Shalom Markin, this is Rakam Makapash from GMS London, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, B'Shem Chakwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful elect, pushing this truth in all sincerity. Back again, one of a video, and news coming from America, from the mouth of Trump, is that he don't want to deal with Spain anymore, right? Because they're useless, they're sponges basically, right? Because we know Trump's been getting on his European allies, ever since he came into office, even from the prior, from the his prior term, he's been getting on the European allies of NATO, right? That they're not doing enough, right? And so he's been quite adversarial against his own allies, and out of these allies that America supposedly has, okay, Spain is like the worst performing ally, so to speak, right? And so he called them out in a recent speech, right? And because they don't do anything, they don't contribute, they don't do nothing. So he said, I want to cut them off. You don't want to do have nothing to do with them. Don't want to do trade with them no more, right? But these are America's allies, all right. And so again, this all plays into biblical prophecy, okay, with the fractures and divisions between America's partners, these Edomite nations, right? How his house of cards is all falling down, right? So these are all developments that are bound to happen, all right. So yeah, Spain's catching the heat specifically right now, over their lack of contribution into NATO, all right. So you see the articles here, right? Trump says he doesn't want anything to do with Spain, cut off all trade, cut them off, right? Trump orders halt to U.S. trade with Spain over NATO spending. Same there. Trump takes aim at wasted cause, right? Wasted cause Spain and revives Greenland claim at NATO summit, right? So he's still going on about Greenland, right? Which is obviously ruffling the feathers again of his NATO allies, okay, his European allies, okay, which is the beast in the scriptures, Revelation, right? The whore is America, right? And this is causing very strained relationships between Europe and America, all right, which is going to end badly, right? Trump orders US to cut all trade with Spain as feud escalates at NATO summit, all right. So this is what's what's going on right now in terms of that. All right, whether they cut off trade or not, hey, that's a whole different matter. Okay, we're only going by what he's saying. We know we can't trust anything this guy is saying, but it is causing problems. It is causing rifts. You know, disagreements and fury and anger, right, between the allies. So that is what's happening. All right. So again, this is all prophecy, right? What should I open up with? Let's grab Revelation 17, right? Let's get that first, right? And it says in verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, okay, which represents NATO, the EU, right? These certain nations, these NATO members in Europe, right? So these shall hate the whore, okay, the whore being Babylon the Great, i.e. America, okay, the one that dictates to the rest of them. As you can see, Trump is in the position of power, okay? Trump is NATO. Well, America is NATO, right? They invest the most in it, right? They have the final say in everything, all right? So they have the power to dictate what these nations ought to do. And now Europe is starting to stand up a little bit, and they're not playing ball so easily with America anymore. The whole Iran thing, and some members didn't want to come and aid them in the whole Iran thing, and different things have been going on. The Greenland thing, right? They're not completely doing what they're told, right? They're standing up a little bit and trying to defend their own interests, so to speak, right? But yeah, America has the bulk of the power in NATO, and America is greater than any of these. Even the combination of these NATO nations, America is greater than them all. All right, in all things, right? It's very important for Europe to keep ties open with America, right? For defense, for trade, all of this, right? And so they try and play defense. They try and tiptoe around America as much as they can. But some things they're standing up on as of this moment in time. But it's causing, like I said, fractures in their relationship, right? So it goes on. It says the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, right? Because of how America is dealing with its NATO allies, right? How it disregards them, how it speaks down to them, all right? Because these men speak with great boldness, great pride, and arrogancy towards their allies, because he knows they're weaker. So these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Eventually, the Lord is going to have the spirit upon them, where in World War III, which is always being built up, right? These allied nations, NATO, is going to turn against America. I say it's going to end badly for America, because America thinks they could do battle by themselves, but it's like that always saying, no man is an island, right? If the whole world comes up against you, bro, you ain't winning. All right, America thinks it can take on everybody at once, and it's just not the case, right? You ain't that great. You know what I'm saying? Your technology ain't that superior, because you got all these all these advantages. Yeah, you got the fight. You got technology and stuff. Yeah, it's better than most nations, but collectively, it's not good enough. It ain't good enough, right? And this is why it's completely ridiculous that you Edomites even think, you elites even think that you could even confront the Lord. It's absolutely ridiculous. But you can't even deal with everybody on the planet. So it is what it is. But yeah, they're gonna hate the whore, and they're gonna shoot their missiles at America when the time is right. Okay. Verse 17, for God hath put in their hearts, okay, which is their minds, to fulfill his will, right? They're going to fulfill the Most High's will. And it's the Most High's will to destroy America, okay, i.e. Babylon the Great, the whore that sitteth on the beast, right? And to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, right, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, okay? That great city represents America. You got people complaining, oh, but America's not a city, and okay, but then tell me who it is then, right? Who is this great city, this individual one little place that has control over the whole earth? Tell me who that is? If it's just one city, one tiny city in comparison to nations, okay? It doesn't make any sense, right? So, okay, who it's talking about is America, right? It says, give the kingdom unto the beast. Oh, sorry, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Right? There's not one city that does that. Right? It's talking about a nation ultimately. Okay, which is just an upscale version of a city. Right? Because America have become great. This is Babylon the Great. Okay. This is Daniel chapter 7 verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. Right, this horn that came up out of the I was going to say out of 10, out of the 3, 10 horns which that were in his head, and the other which came up, okay, out of the 10, right, is America, right? Who caused the 3 to fall, which is the British, the Spanish, and the French. Okay, how they they got their independency from, right? The land of America, right? This whole anniversary thing, and it's all to celebrate their victories and the establishment of their United States of America and all this kind of business, right? All these victories that we're meant to be so proud of, right? This is your history, right? This is how you came into power, how you got independency from the British and so on. All right, So you came up at the 10, okay, by defeating the 3, right? But this this made you, has made you arrogant and proud, right? So even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, right? And so now, America has become a superpower. It looks down upon its allies now, right? And you can see the disdain that Trump has for these European, his European allies, his partners, so to speak, right? So-called partners, right? Full of disdain, full of disrespect, basically. All right. And Sirach chapter 10 verse 7 says this: his pride is hateful before God and man. Right? So no one likes how you're moving around and flexing on everybody. Right? How you're dictating terms to people, telling man, oh, we're going to throw tariffs on you, or we're going to sanction you if you do this, or or we're going to cut trade off if you don't do this, and all these threats. You man just threatening man's your supposed friends. Like, you just threatening them, so you can get what you want, do what you want to do, right? Because you got the power to, you got the army, you got the money, you got the control, right? And so you're just kind of like pissing and shitting on everybody, right? So this pride that you have, man, it's become hateful, man. It's burning them. Right? You've been hijacking deals and that kind of stuff. I remember that submarine deal in France. I think it was Australia and France, but you just hijacked the deal. You've been pissing people off, right? This whole, Strait of Hormuz thing, man, you're causing energy prices and gas prices to skyrocket up in Europe and stuff like that. Yeah, you're doing all of this. For why? For what benefit? Oh, we need to stop Iran getting nukes. But they didn't have any nukes. We must make sure they never get a nuclear weapon. Bro, it's dumb. But yeah, you're the one causing all these problems and issues to everybody else. All right, so yeah, your allies are becoming frustrated with you, man. All right, and in turn, I guess you're frustrated with them, right? His pride is hateful before God and man, and by both doth one commit iniquity. All right. It's Matthew 12 verse 25, and Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation. So these are not good signs. I know people thinking, oh yeah, Spain are just leeching off our investments and all these different types of things. It's good that we cut ties with that. There's probably a bunch of guys saying that. Well, ultimately, you're making yourself weaker. Ultimately, you're making yourself weaker. Oh, we're gonna pull troops out of Europe. Okay, but then how do you then manage your interest in those places if you ain't got no soldiers there? Right? You're only making yourself weaker, right? It's the same way with the whole UK. We're going to do the Brexit. We're going to leave Europe. Look at us now. All this Brexit talk was meant to make us better and stronger, but that's not what's happened. That's not what's happened. Everybody's suffering. Like, all this extra stuff, bro. Come on, man. People are stronger as blocks. Economic blocks. But hey, what do we know? But yeah. Right, so these are obviously bad signs ultimately, right? So every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself shall not stand, right? So it's the writing's on the wall, man. It's like we keep telling you, right? America's rulership, or Esau's rulership, is coming to its end, right? These are all the signs, okay, that are laid out in the scriptures, and they're there to, they're all there to be observed. This is what we're watching, right? So ultimately, Esau's kingdom is failing, right? So then Satan cast out Satan, he is divided against himself. How shall then his kingdom stand? Right? It ain't gonna stand for much longer, man. Most High is dismantling this place piece by piece. Alright? Daniel chapter 2 verse 41 says, whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Okay, Esau's kingdom is divided. Right? You can't tell me that this version of Esau's kingdom is stronger now than it was 20 years ago. It's not. It isn't. Right? So obviously they're getting weaker. And the gap between, America and the West and these, quote unquote weaker, smaller nations, the gap between them is getting smaller. Alright, it's getting smaller. Because they're also investing in technology. Certain men are helping them build up their armories and these types of things. And, China and Russia are helping these smaller nations, right, be stronger. Right? Because that's the spirit everyone is in right now. Every man's preparing for war. Every nation is preparing for war, spending more on weapons and, armories, right? So that gap's gotten smaller. And so America is not in the same position that it once was. It's not... It's still dominating as a world superpower, but at the same time, they're more vulnerable than they've ever been, right? And obviously, Trump is there trying to sell to you that America's the strongest it's ever been, right? America's the greatest it's ever been, and all of these, richer than they've ever been, and all this bullshit. But the truth is, they're not in the same position in the world as they were. Okay, their grasp or their influence, their power has dwindled. Right? Enough so that these other nations can rise up and take a shot at it. Right? And it will happen. It's going to happen. Alright? With devastating consequences and effects, right? So the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, right? So the military, Esau still got it popping with his military and that. America's still numero uno when it comes to that. But like I said, that gap has only gotten smaller. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, right? Iron and clay do not mix, right? So there's elements to Esau's kingdom that is not cohesive. And as we're seeing, it's the fallout. It's falling out now. These different nations that are not pulling their weight, or they don't see eye to eye. They're weak, or whatever the case may be. We used to speak about the pigs nations. Okay, Spain was on the list. Spain was on the list, right? Was it Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and being Spain? All right. So Spain, it's not been able to contribute because it's broke. It better put hard up. Economically, the stronger nations in Europe are like Germany. France. Well, it would have been UK if UK was still part of Europe, but they were. So it would have been UK. And let's be honest, even these three nations that I mentioned that are meant to be stronger nations, right? Man, they're hard up, man. These governments are struggling. The UK government, the German government, the French government, they're struggling, man. So it's like Trump's coming around and beating a dead horse. And these men are tired. These men are tired because all your actions is making it harder for Europe. And so how can they put money in defense? How can they all put 5%? I mean, they could, but but something else has to go, right? To put extra money into defenses, right? So money has to be taken from somewhere else. Education, healthcare, whatever it is, money has to come from somewhere else. So how can these men, put extra in to meet the 5% when Europe is hurt because of the actions that you've done? Right? The whole beef, between you and Russia, and we don't do deals with Russia. Because Germany was reliant on Russian gas, but you said no, you can't deal with them. If you do that, we're going to put sanctions on you, or whatever it was. Like, so they, you've caused Europe to struggle with high energy prices and all these types of things. So America's coming around beating a dead horse and you're not paying your part. Well, Spain was already fucked before all of that, right? And so of course Spain ain't contributing, bro. There's no money. There's no money and no appetite for war. They're in a poor situation. They've got no appetite for war. You know what I mean? So what do you expect, right? But like I said, these relationships, man, it's hurting. This relationship's hurting people. These men are getting hurt. All right, so verse 42, and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Right, there's elements to Esau's, power structures, NATO and that's just broken. Spain is one of those cases, So it says, whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they should mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they should not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay, right? And so, Esau promotes on like a metropolis type setup. So they bring in people from all around the world, right? Immigrants, whatever, right? To take, to use their talents or to make up numbers in the workforce in these different nations. And now it's become a big problem because obviously all these people that come from all these different parts of the world with different cultures, different religions, and that now you have the the quote unquote I don't want to use the word indigenous because fucking Esau's not indigenous to fucking Europe anyway, but let's say like the what do you call these people, man? These nationals, the ones that were born here, whatever, right? These fucking Edomites that go on about being fucking English or whatever, thinking that they've, it means something. Yeah, it's like for lack of words, innit? Right, they got issue with all these people coming in, right? So, it's a divided system. These nations are divided, and you can see it in all nations in the political sphere that these people are not getting along really, right? And you got the far right rising up and protesting and threatening and this and that. These men are getting up and getting better opportunities in government now, so that more and more policies can go against immigrants and whatever, right? So all this is happening, right? Because it's all part of prophecy. All this division, okay, all these strained relationships, right? It's capitulating, right? It's reaching breaking point, right? So it's just a matter of time, okay? So they should mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they should not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. All right. Just I think one more thing. So with yeah. All right. And this is Obadiah chapter 1 verse 7. So all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, right? Your friends, your allies, right? But you've made enemies out of friends. All right. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, right? So they're right now, because the options are few, right? Europe is not in a position to really do anything independently, right? They're not strong enough. They're not economically strong enough, right? They do require America's help in a lot of things to do certain things, right? So they have to play the game right now. Bare politics they got to play. They got to keep America somewhat satiated, somewhat appeased, right? While they pivot away from America. All right, so yeah, they're gonna play that game, right? But like I said, that relationship is only gonna fail completely during World War III. All right. So the men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, right? Because like I said, America has provided a lot of benefits for Europe, right? Ever since World War II, really, when Europe got effed up, right? America stepped in, facilitated a lot of the rebuilding, right? Put up the costs, the money for it. And like I said, America became the world's superpower from that moment on, really. right? So we've become, Europe's become quite dependent on the aid of America, all right? Because that's how it was set up to be by the elites, right? To use America, to be that superpower. Okay, so yeah, Europe has ate thy bread that you provided, right, to sustain ourselves. Yeah, it's true. Right, it's the they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him, right? Because they've given up on you. They've given up on America, man. Right? There's no convincing them, to take any other course or path, direction, or whatever. Right? This is the course they're on now. Right? And it's saying it's not going to be changed. Right? But I said this is all going to lead to the Lord using these characters in these nations in Europe and NATO, right, to attack America in the end, right, to end it. Okay. So that's what this is where it all leads to. It's just a matter of time. Okay, and so we wait and we see how it develops. But I'm gonna end it there anyway. Lord, when this has been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.